Hi, this is SAP Tutorial from UPlus. Till now, I covered the configuration part of demand planning, BW, and core interface. Today, I am going to cover about SNP. SNP is nothing but a supply network planning. It is one of the modules in the APO, SAP APO. Normally, we have four modules like SAP. We have four modules in SAP APO. APO number one is APO DP, number two APO SNP, number three APO PPDS, number four APO GATP. We completed APO DP. Now we are going to discuss about the APO SNP. Just today in this session, I am going to cover about the overview of the SNP. What is the SNP? How is going to use in the market? What are the things we need to maintain the SNP? Like that, I am going to cover here. Yeah. In the simple term, we can SNP we can name it as a supply network planning. The derivation of SNP is a supply network planning. Before going to start, let me take one example. Okay. This is the distribution center. This is a plant. This is a vendor. Okay. Just consider this is a finished product in one distribution center. This is a production plant. And this is a vendor. Okay. See, from the distribution center, they're going to transfer to customer one. This is the finished product for a particular distribution center. Finished product is nothing but the product. This is nothing but the demand for a particular location for a particular product. This is a plant vendor. Normally in DP, taking sales history and sales orders as an sales history and sales order as an input, and generating the forecast values as an output. Yeah, the output from the demand planning is the forecast data, which means once the forecast is available, you're going to transfer to the SNP. Okay, for the material requirement planning. The main purpose of transferring the forecast result to the SNP is to do the short-term planning. Is mainly for the MRP. Sorry, it is mainly due to the mainly to do the MRP planning. Okay, let me clear this statement. In the DP, we have generated the forecast. Okay, in the SNP, we are going to do the planning. Here, the planning is nothing but a material requirement planning. Material requirement planning. Let me give this elaborate part. In the demand plan, the output is a forecast data. Okay. In SNP, we are going to do the planning. We're going to the planning. Here, planning is what? Here, planning is here. Planning is nothing but MRP. MRP is a material requirement planning. Okay. See, once the forecast values are going to generated from the in the demand planning, with that forecast values as an input to the SNP and and master data from the ECC, with that in the SNP you are going to do the planning. That is called as a MRP is called a material requirement planning. Okay. This material requirement planning, this planning, that means whatever the planning we are doing in the SNP, that planning will be performed by using 3 engines. The planning in SNP is performed by 3 engines called heuristics, CTM, optimizer. These 3 are the engines are used to do the planning in the SNP. With the help of these 3 engines, we are going to do the planning in the SNP. Either we are going to use heuristic or CTM or optimizer. Okay. This is about the this is about the small part of this is about the small overview of about SNP. Once the planning is done, once planning is done, the requested stock is going to transfer to the requested DC centers. Okay. Once planning is done, the results will get generated. Here results are nothing but the requested stocks. Once the stock is available, system is going to distribute that stock to the distribution centers. Okay. That is called distribute DCs, called deployment. Okay. Once planning is done, the requested stock is going to distribute to DC to requested DC is called a deployment. Okay. It's nothing but which plant requests how much quantity. With that request, system going to transfer the results to that distribution centers. Okay. The way of transport, that means once the stock is available, it's going to be it's ready to distribute to the requested distribution center. The transport mode to distribute to distribution center is any vehicle. You have to use some other. You have to use a vehicle to do the transport. If, for example, plant generated 1,000 quantities, DC center one requested 200 quantities. Okay, to generate 200 quantities, plant is ready to generate the 200 quantities to the distribution center 1. Okay, but we have only we have only one truck. We're not able to generate 200. The capacity of truck is only 100 quantity. We have only one truck. That means we have to generate. We have to we have to transport only 100 quantities only. Remaining 100 we can't able to do this situation. That means once the deployment result is ready, once the stock is available and ready to transport, but due to the scarcity of the vehicle, we are not we are not going due to scarcity of vehicle, we are not going to produce that much stock. Yeah. Once planning is done, once planning is happened, the requested whatever the requested stock is going to distribute to DC centers. This scenario is called as deployment. Okay. Confirmation of deployment results is called TLB. Confirmation of deployment results is called TLP. Full form is transport load builder. Okay. So now we can simply tell as SNP this complete part. See, this planning, deployment, TLP, this complete part is SNP. Okay. And simply we can tell as SNP is a integration of purchasing, manufacturing. Here purchasing manufacturing comes under the planning scenario. Distributing comes as deployment, and transportation comes under TLB. Okay. Simply we can term as SNP. SNP is an integration of purchasing, manufacturing, distributing, and transportation. Okay. SNP is used for midterm planning. Okay. DP is a long-term planning. SNP is used for midterm planning. Here we had to see the results in day-wise also. Okay. Here we had to see the day-wise also. That's why it's called as a midterm planning. And DP is a DP is a long-term planning, and it is a monthly cycle. DP is a monthly cycle, but SNP here SNP is a weekly cycle. Okay. Uh, let me give you a small example. See, this plant. This is a finishing. This finishing part distribution center. This make a purchase requisition. This make a request to the plant. It is called purchase requisition. purchase requisition. This distribution center made a purchase requisition to this plant, which means that we have this much finishing product. We want okay. Once purchase requisition made for the particular product in this location, plant will start the production. Okay, with the help of one resource. Plant has a resource to do the planning. Sorry, to do plant has a resource. Okay, plant has a resource. With that resource, they are going to produce this much quantity made by the distribution center. Okay, for example, plant is going to produce Tata cars, Tata Nano cars. Normally, Tata has their own engine, but the tires and batteries they buy from an external vendor. From external vendor, they are going to they made a request to external vendor for these batteries and for these batteries, tires, and some more accessories. But normally the engine is belongs to the Tata. The engine is from the Tata side only. To produce one finished product in the plant, we need some components like tires, engines, battery, lights, like this. Whichever belongs to Tata, it's going to be here in the plant itself only. But some of the like batteries, tires, they had to buy from the external vendors. For this, plant made a purchase requisition for vendor for the components. Okay. Once then this vendor is going to send the components to the plant. Once the components are available in this plant, with the help of this resource, is going to generate the finished product. Okay, this is nothing but that planned requirement. Plan requirements. Okay, DC center made a purchase requisition to the plant. Plant made requisitions for DC center made a purchase requisition to the plant for finished product. To make the finished product in the plant made a purchase requisition for vendors for the components. Once the component is available into the plant, with the help of the resource, plant is going to generate the finished product. This process is called planned requirement. Planned requirement. And once the finished product is ready in the plant, the required quantity is going to distribute to the DC. Okay. For suppose we have multiple DCs, DC1, DC2, DC3, DC1, DC2, DC. We have DC2, DC3, like this, same things. DC2, DC3, DC4. If you have same thing, if you have multiple DCs, the same process. That means this DC is made a purchase requisition to this plant, and this DC also made the purchase requisition. This DC also made the purchase requisition to the plant for the finished product. Once the finished product is available, the plant is going to distribute the required quantity to the requested DCs. Okay. Here, these purchase requisition plan requirements. These plan made a purchase plan made a raise a purchase requirement vendor. This all comes under planning. And once the finished product is available, I'm going to distribute to DCs to the respective DCs. Is called the deployment. And finally, once the deployment results are available, confirmation of the deployment results is called TLB. This complete process, this complete thing is, we can specify it as a SNP. Okay. Then next, come to the SNP life cycle. This is about the SNP. Let me elaborate one by one. Okay. See, if you come here, you see this features. If you come to the features, integrate, purchasing, manufacturing, distribution, transportation. I already present as a SNP is an integration of purchasing, manufacturing, distribution, transportation. Nothing but the planning, distribution, deployment. Okay. Next is the consider constraints and penalties to the plan production flow along the supply chain. This this statement I will cover in the later. I will cover later at the time of optimizer. At the time of optimizer, to understand this statement, we need to go to the optimizer. In this session only, I am going to cover this. Okay. Enable planning for different levels of detailed aggregate planning, which is nothing but in the DP you are going to do the aggregation plan disaggregation. Like that here in the SNP also you can do choice of heuristic rule or optimization based algorithms. These statements tends to, we have three planning agents: heuristic, CTM, optimizer. The respect to the demand, with respect to the forecast, with respect to the business requirement, we are going to, it's our choice to go with the, go among those three engines. We can select one engine. That means these three engines are three different features. Three different features. This I'm going to cover soon. Then next, advanced safety stock planning algorithm. Here we have advanced safety stock planning option is there, which means that your safety stock. Let me come. Just this advanced safety stock planning I will cover in the SNP life cycle, SNP cycle. In the time I'm going to cover. Just come to this. Yeah. This is the SNP planning cycle, like DP life cycle, DP planning cycle. We have for SNP also we have planning cycle, but DP is for the DP is a monthly cycle, SNP is a weekly cycle. Okay. See, first of all, release forecast from DP to SNP. First, once the forecast is available in the DP, is going to release it to SNP. This is the first step. Then next, safety stock planning. Yes, safety stock planning means, for example, my machine. Yeah, for example, my machine is every day is going to work for 8 hours and going to generate 100 quantities. Okay, but from last 1 year I am monitoring my machine that every month for 2 days my machine is going to trouble. For 2 days it is not going to work properly. Okay, which means that for every month 2 days 2 days is not working, which means that 200 quantities will get reduced for the month. Okay, which tends to, that means weekly, for example, sorry, consider weekly every week is going to trouble. Every week for 1 day is going to trouble. Every day is going to generate 100 quantities, but for every week, for in a week per day it's going to trouble. It has some trouble. It not going to start it, which tends to loss of 100 quantities per day, for per week, loss of 100 quantities per week. Okay, to recover this loss, sorry, to recover this position, SAP introduced SNP introduced safety stock planning. With the help of safety stock planning, we are going to cover that values, which means that SNP is already produced some safety stock planning, some safety stock. That means they already put some safety stock before going to start the planning. They already put some safety stock. In case if there is any trouble in the machine, if there is any lagging in the stock, System uses the safety stock planning values to produce the to deliver the finished product. Okay, this is our safety stock planning. If you come to here in these features, we have advanced safety stock planning algorithm, which means that advanced safety stock planning works with respect to the forecast errors also. Let's consider I have a forecast value as a 1200. Okay, but my sales orders for that particular week is 1000 only. 200 quantity is lead. That means 200 quantities are more. Once it's come, once you come into the SNP, these 200 quantities will make as a safety stock. Okay, which means that I have the sales orders quantity as 200, but I have demand has only 1000, which means that 200 quantities I get, I'm in lag. 200 quantities I'm in lag. Okay, uh, by considering the forecast error also, SNP automatically they can create the stock, safety stock. That is called the advanced safety stock planning, which means that with the help of forecast errors values also, it's going to generate the safety stock. Okay, then next, perform SNP planning run and heuristic optimize capital match. Once the forecast values are available from DP to SNP, system is going to do the planning run by using three engines, either heuristic or optimization are capable to match. Once once the planning once the planning done, business will review the planning results, and if any alerts are there, they are going to resolve that. Once they check the results, they are going to release the SNP plan to PPDS for short-term production planning. Okay, here in the SNP, normally you are going to do the planning day-wise also. Okay, day-wise also. In PPDS, we are going. This is for PPDS is for the short-term production planning. Short-term production planning, which means that it's hourly basis. Hourly basis, which means that for one for first for 1 hour, how I am going to produce, how much quantity I am going to produce. For second, for 2 hours, how much I'm going to produce quantity, like that. My machine, my resource, how many, how much how much duration my machine has to work per day to get this quantity. These are going to perform in the PPDS. Okay, if the project has a PPDS, the results, this SNP is going to transfer to PPDS, or we transfer the results to the ECC for the to perform the production planning. Okay, then next, once the SNP, then next, perform the deployment at TLB run to create a short-term distribution plan, which means that we have the planning results. Once the planning results are available, we have to do the deployment. Okay, deployment and TLB to create the short-term distribution plan. Then finally transfer result to the execution system. This is about the complete life cycle of the SNP. Okay, we have SNP compared to the DP. Interactively both screens are same. You don't find any differences in the entire demand planning screen for the SNP side and the BDP side. But only one difference is we have one in the DP. In the DP we have only one. This is only one table we can see. But in the SNP we can see two tables at the time of capacity level. We have capacity planning in the SNP. Yeah, okay, now if for normal planning we have only one table, but if you go for the capacity planning, we have two tables. That is one of the difference in the entire planning screen. Rest of our same. See, this is a capacity. This is a capacity plan. This is a capacity plan screen. See here we have two tables, which means that this I'm going to cover at the time of heuristic. This is about the capacity planning. Then you get the clear idea. Remaining all part are same compare in the inter demand planning scheme compared to the demand planning. Yeah. See, if you see here, these green things are the production plants. Okay, production plants, and these are the distribution centers. If you see here, production plant, distribution centers, suppliers. Suppliers are nothing but the vendors. Okay, this demand DC centers, these DC centers will make a purchase requisition to the plants. DC centers make a purchase requisition to the plants. Okay, these plants make a purchase requisitions to these vendors and get the components from these vendors. Once the components are available in these plants, they are going to generate the finished product. There is nothing but the plant. They are going to do the plant production. Okay. Once the results are available, they are going to distribute to the DC centers. There is nothing but a planned stock transfers. From the DC to customer is going to transfer. Okay. SNP heuristic is a heuristic with a constant supply network. SNP heuristic does the sourcing based on quota arrangement. An additional planning step, capacity leveling, can be performed in order to resolve the capacity orders. This I'm going to cover later. Before that, let me add some points to you. Okay. Till now, this is about the overview of the SNP. That means SNP is a nothing but the SNP is integration of a planning, deployment, and TLB. Okay, which means that planning has to be performed with the help of the three engines like heuristics, optimizer, CTM. Once the planning is done, we are going to distribute the planning result to the respective DCs is called the deployment. Confirmation of deployment results is called the TLB. Okay. SNP is the weekly cycle, and in the SNP we are going to do the midterm planning. We can view the results on the SNP daily basis. Okay. Once the planning is done from the SNP side, that results, if you want to do the short-term production planning, if you want to do for short-term production planning, we can transfer the results to the PPDS module, or otherwise with that results, otherwise this is also going to transfer to the execution system. The execution nothing but the ECC system. Okay. Now come to the planning engines one by one. Okay, now come to the planning engines one by one. First one, SNP heuristics. Heuristic, let me add points. This engine is going to do infinite planning. Okay. Do the infinite planning, and it perform capacity leveling. Is going to perform to reduce capacity overload. Okay. The next, See, if you see here, SNP is a heuristic without considering the constraint in the supply network, which means that uh, to do the planning with the help of heuristic engine, the system will not consider the capacity of the resource. Okay, that means if the resource is work for the 8 hours, it has a okay. If resource, if for example, resource is capable to produce the 1,000 quantities only per day, but heuristic will not consider the capacity of the resource. Okay, per day 8 hours is there. For 8 hours, it's going to produce 1,000 quantities. But we have requests 1,200 quantities daily. They are going to increase 2 more hours. Okay, that means it is not bother about the resource capacity. If you have the more, they have the more demand. They are going to increase the runtime of the machine. Okay, due to this, this tends to infinite planning. Okay, this means that this statement means that SNP heuristic is a heuristic without considering the constraints in the supply network. That means it will not bother about the capacity. It will not bother constraint. Whatever quantity they get, that much quantity is going to produce without considering the capacity of the resource. Due to that, due to that we can term it as infinite planning. Heuristic engine is infinite planning. Okay. Due to that infinite planning, we have additional step called capacity leveling. Capacity leveling, we have capacity leveling is to resolve the capacity overloads. We had to perform the capacity leveling. Why? Because if the if the resource capacity is the 1,000 quantity, if you want to do the 200 quantity, directly is not possible. For that, we have to make some capacity leveling, which means that we have to increase the runtime of the runtime of the resource. This we are going to do in the capacity leveling. Okay, and simply we can derive as heuristic is an infinite planning, and capacity leveling can perform in order to resolve the capacity overloads. Okay, next, CTM, capable to match CTM. Okay, uh, CTM, it is a finite planning. That means it is a finite planning. Here, CTM planning uses a constraint-based heuristic planning approach for the cross supply chain check and the capacity as well as material availability. CTM considers predefined supply categories and demand priorities, which means that, for example, this is for the statement. CTM consider predefined supply categories and demand priorities, which means that, for example, for consider we have multiple DCs. Plant producer, plant produces the finish, plant produces the quantities and going to distribute, but due to some issues, plant are not going to distribute on time. Okay, plant is not going to is not going to distribute. Okay, they are going to distribute the time, but they are not going to distribute that much quantity, whatever they requested. At that time, at that time, they will consider. They consider. Okay, they get the request from multiple DC centers, but they don't have that much quantities. They will consider to distribute the quantities to the requested DC centers with respect to the quota, with respect to the demand, with respect to the priority, like that. Okay, here CTM is a finite planning. It's going to distribute the planning results to distribution centers on basis of the demand, quota, priority. Okay, CTM is a predefined supply categories and demand priorities. That means it's going to distribute the planning quantities, plan in terms of demand and quota arrangement, like that is going to distribute. Okay. Then next come to the optimizer. Optimizer is also finite planning, but it is a cost based planning. For example, uh, plant is going to generate the 1,000 quantities. Okay. And Reliance had made an agreement with the plant on on monthly, they want 1,000 soaps per on this day, on month start, and every month every month first day they want 1,000 soaps every month for a year. If we not produce, if you not, if the plant will not produce that much, will not produce on the day, on time, they have to give penalty to the Reliance. This agreement has to be made once they are going to once again going to start the conversation. Yeah, this is normally happen in the business side. Okay, they had to provide the penalty, like that, like Reliance, like Big Brother also have made the agreement with the plant. Okay, in that case, in that case, if a plant will not produce that much quantity on time, they will check the whose penalty is high. Okay, Big Bazaar priority is Big Bazaar penalty cost is high. They first of all they send the demand to the Big Bazaar, like that. This scenario you're going to cover in the optimizer. Okay, this is a cost based planning and finite planning. Okay, come to the comparison of the SNP engines. Heuristic, heuristic to create a plan with a few bottleneck resource. CTM to create a feasible plan by fulfilling the highest priority and demand first. Optimizer to create a feasible plan with minimum cost or maximize profit. Okay. Complexity, come to the complexity. Heuristic is a low complexity, it's easy to understand, it is easy to do anything. Okay. CTM is medium to high, optimizer is a high complexity wise. Time taken to complete the planning cycle is for a heuristic is a low. Heuristic is a low. For CTM is medium. For optimizer is medium. Implementation time for heuristic is low. CTM medium and optimizer medium. Quality of the results, which means that accurate of the results. The heuristic is a medium time, but in CTM optimizer is a high. Get the most of all 99% get the accurate results in the CTM and optimizer compared to the heuristic. Okay. We already discussed. It is the infinite. Heuristic is infinite planning. CTM is CTM and optimizer both are finite. Resources. The resources, come to the resources. We have additional in the heuristic. We have additional step called capacity learning to overcome the capacity overloads. Okay. In the CTM optimizer, we don't have that. The resources are the production, transportation, handling. Production, transportation, handling. This will cover at the time of CTM optimizer. Okay. Minimum resource utilization, not considered. Not considered. Okay. This is about the overview of the SNP, and come to the SNP features. See, in the features, let you go one by one before. Yeah. Come to the features. Safety. Mm, Yeah, safety stock planning. First, we safety stock planning. Already we discussed about safety stock planning regarding that. Uh, Safety stock planning. Usually, safety stock to safeguard. Use of safety stock is to safeguard the supply chain against negative effects of the uncertain influence factors like errors in predicting customer demand, disruption in production, fluctuations transportation times. What we discussed at this point. Okay. The next is to satisfy unexpected demands caused by these factors using an extra amount of material, intermediate products or end products. Okay. Uses of advanced safety stock planning method in the APS-NP to determine optimal amount of safety stock for all location products in the supply chain based on service levels, where considering demand, supply, and uncertainty. Aggregated planning. Aggregated planning is nothing but is what we covered in the DP aggregation, aggregate and disaggregated planning. The same thing is going to applicable in SNP also. Self life in SNP. This I will cover in the coming classes. In the time of conference, I will cover this self life plan. Then we get the clear understand of this. Subcontracting in SNP. Subcontracting means, see, for example, Diwali. Consider Diwali. In Diwali, we have we have dairy milk celebration pack. That means different chocolates is going to be packed in one single gift box. Gift box. Plant will produce the chocolates. Will produce the chocolates. Plant will produce chocolates. But to do this gift box, it is only one. It will really happen once only. For this activity, business is not business is not ready to produce to put separate plant for yearly for especially for this. It will it's a cost based. It's a cost based and no that much use of that. In that case, they request the plant sends the components to the subcontractor. That means plants gives the chocolates and the give chocolates and tell to the subcontractor, make me a beautiful gift box by putting all these chocolates. Subcontractor take the components from the plant and made a gift box and sent to the plant. This complete process is called a subcontracting. Okay, this can be done in the SNP. This is the feature of SNP. See, in subcontract scenario, the plant provides subcontract components to the third party called a subcontractor. The subcontractor assembles the components and return the finished product. Enable outsourcing of manufacturing facilities to a third party. Consider subcontracting scheduling agreement has external procurement relationships. Okay, this is about the subcontracting. Interchangeability. Like in the demand plan, we have interchangeability is due to like profile, phase in phased profile, product split, real mean. In a similar way, in the supply in the SNP we have for heuristic, optimizer, capable to match. These are all integrability. These are, with this integration only, SNP is going to perform. Planning is going to perform either with these engines. Okay. Use of interchangeability to transfer demand for the product that is to be discontinued onto a successor product, and to use existing stock of a current product to fulfill the demand for the successor product. Like this. Come to the structure of the SNP. SNP it connects to SNP. The SNP is going to this is the SNP is going to connect to external authorized system with the help of core interface. Okay, the help of core interface, sub SNP is going to connect in the APO. Okay, for authorized system. For for non-authorized systems also, it's going to connect with the help of BAPIs, ALE BAPIs. And we have in the okay, whatever the data, demand planning data, supply and demand, product planning data, whatever data is going to store GDP data, whatever this thing is going to store in the common database called live cat. benefits: creation of feasible purchasing, production, and distribution plans over the entire supply chain. It's nothing but planning, deployment, TLD. Okay, visibility over the whole supply chain. Integrated demand planning scheme. In the integrated demand planning, we can see with the help of integrated demand planning, we can see the results of the supply chain. Okay, optimize in inventory levels for satisfying service level requirements. This is the main key point for the SCM, supply chain management. To run the supply chain management in a smooth manner, we need optimal inventory levels and satisfy and more service and more customer services. Sorry, and more customer. Okay, material capacity requirement planning is one process. Okay, heuristic rule cost. We have engines, different engines for the different purpose. For infinite, we have to go for the heuristic. And for cost based, we have go for the optimizer. For the demand purpose, for the based on the demand or quota purpose, we can go for the CTM. These many flexibilities we have to do the planning. Okay. Exception based planning the alerts but to identify resolve issues like capacity order, self-life evaluation, or late orders. Like DP, we have in the DP whatever in the DP in the alerts. Like DP, we have in the SNP also we have the alerts. With the help of alerts, we can uh, we will be we will get alerted with the help of these alerts. This is about the overview of the SNP. Now I'm going to start the it's not the configuration part. Before going to start the configuration part, let me give the main difference between the DP and SNP by showing the. Let me enter into STC connect. Okay. The configuration part is nothing difference between DP and SNP. In the DP, like model version we have. Before going to start the configuration for in the last session for the DP configuration, before going to start the actual start in the DP configuration, we first work on the model and version. Like the similar thing in the SNP also, we have the same model and version. Same model and model as the 000, version as the 000. Model is assigned for the master data and the version is assigned for the planning area. We have standard model as 000 and standard version as 000. Okay, but normally in the SNP, the master data here in the SNP, the master data is the product, location, resource, transportation lane, and PPM or PDS. These are the master data for the SNP side. Okay, but normally this master data has to get from the ECS to APO. We can create it manually, but in the real time projects, normally in the real time the whatever master data is there is going to be transferred from ECS to APO only. Once and it is automatically assigned to the active model and version as 000. But now, but in case if you want to create the master data manually, once we created it, the master data, we have to assign the active model manually. But in case of SIF, no need to assign it to active model. Once we transfer the data from ECC to APO, the master data, it's going to assign to active it's going to assign to active model automatically. Okay. Come to the modern version, there is no change in the DP and SNP. Uh, Come to the planning area and MPAS. In DP, we can create our own MPAS and we can create our own planning area. But in SNP, we can't create our own MPAS. It's not advisable and it's not good in the SNP side. Okay, and planning area also we are not going to create in the we are not going to create in the SNP. Here we are going to use the here we have some predefined planning areas. Here we are going to use the predefined planning areas only. Here we are going to use some predefined planning areas only, and it is advisable. It is also advisable. Okay, let me go step by step. Uh, Let me see 9A SNP02 is a standard planning area for SNP. We can create a planning area by ourselves on DP. We can create our own planning area in DP. But in SNP, we can create. Before to create that, let me explain about the standard SNP planning area. Then I will go for the manual created planning area. See if you see here, planning. This is a standard planning area. This is a standard planning area. In the standard planning, this is a standard MPOS, and this is standard storage bucket profile. If you double click on the standard bucket profile, storage bucket profile, here the day and week is get selected. But in DP, what we selected week and month. In the SNP, day and week. Why? Because we are going to review the data in the day level also. Due to that reason, here the SNP storage bucket profile, we are going to select the day and week. Okay, this is a system suggested. This is not created by ourselves. This is system created. Once the API is installed in the system, we get the by default planning area as like this. By default storage by profile 9 SNP. Okay. Uh, Same unit of measure is PC. If you go into aggregates, this means that this aggregates in the SNP we have standard data source, which means that mm, for example, okay, aggregate. See, let us consider this aggregate 9A. Look. Under this aggregate, we have this master data. Under this aggregate, that means this is a data source. This is nothing but data source. Under this data source, I have let's take it. See, under this data source, I have see this aggregate means is nothing but data sources. Let's go to the T code RSA1. Find. I'm just taking 9A. 9A MALA. I am just seeing this data source by in this, and this is what data I have. 9A Malavan. Select all object types. Search. See, 9A Mala I have. Just expand. See, this data I have. this much data. The description they are not given. Okay, no issue. 9A Matnar, 9A Nokno, 9A type, 9A version, 9A midday, which means that product, location, transportation line. These all are master data I have in this data source. Okay. Key figures. These are all key figures we have. These are all key figures we have. These are the inbuilt, these are the SAP recommended key figures. We can put new key figures also by simply drag and drag, just selecting and draw it. Okay, it has to be done before going to activate. Once it's activated, it's not possible to do to move the changes. So then we need to go to the change mode. Okay, key figure aggregation is the same as in DP. The key figure assignment just I discussed today. Under this data source, what are the master data is assigned aggregated planning. Here we have to give the hierarchy structures. This I'm going to cover in the coming session. Locking logic. Locking logic is no need for the SNP. Okay. Here, this is all about the standard planning area. Now, I would like to create a new planning area. In the SNP, if you want to go to create a new planning area, just click on this thing. Create planning area. In the SNP, we are not going to create any planning area manually. Instead of that, we are going to copy. Okay, ZAPO underscore UPL underscore 9SNP02. Instead of creating planning area for SNP, here we are going to copy the standard planning area to our new one. Okay, just take this thing. This is our. If you see here in this planning area, the planning object is the standard planning object, MPAS, which means that in the SNP, you're not going to create any MPAS. We have to use only the standard MPAS. Here we have to use only standard MPAS. There is no need to. There is no chance to create our own MPAS, and we have to use the inbuilt characteristics only. Okay, if you see here, the storage bucket profile is the same standard storage bucket profile, which we seen previously. Okay, which means that see, if you want to put the new key figures like anything in the new key figures, we can get it from here. Just select it and just like that. We can move. And if you don't want any key figures, here just select it and select this and move to here. We can do it, but we can't change the characteristics like this. Okay, here, I'm not going to activate. Yeah, we can to activate this. Just create initialize planning version. This is the way to create. It will take more time to active. It will take more time. That's why I'm not going to activate it. And here I'm going to use a standard one. Okay, this is the way we are going to use a planning area in SNP. Here we not instead of creating a new planning area, here we're going to copy the existing planning area and use it for our newly using a planning area, and we are using the standard MPOS and standard storage bucket profile. Okay. And we have to use the standard planning book also. Okay, here you have to use a standard planning book also. For this, see, we have a T code to go for the SNP planning book, and we have to see the SNP interactive planning screen. Then to view the SNP interactive planning screen is a // SAP API / SNP 94. It directly moves to the SNP planning book and SNP interactive planning area. If you see here, this is the standard SNP planning book. Okay, if you click on this, if you see here, this is the storage bucket profile we are going to use, and this is the MPOS. These are the characteristics we are going to use: location, product, ppm, resource, transportation line. These are the master data for the SNP. Key figures, all standard key figures we are going to use here only. Okay. um, just show me, just let me give some example. um, if you see the here the key figures: sales orders, distribution demand, distribution demand, dependent demand, distribution are confirmed. These are all are not, these are all are standard key figures, which is not created by users. This is all the SAP recommended key figures. So here in the DP, we are going to create our here we are going to create the key figures only. But here it's not possible. Here it's not recommended to create our own key figures. We can create our own figures for the custom purpose only. But normally we are going to use the standard key figures here. It's all standard key figures. Why means, uh, let me go into this planning here, then you get the complete idea. If you see here, key figure, category, we have category option. But in DP, you can't find any categories. If I'm going to transfer the forecast from DP to SNP, in the DP is a forecast, but it come to the SNP, it will the forecast is going to show in the SNP as a category basis. Well, FA category. At the time of we are releasing forecast from DP to SNP, we select the category as FA category, which means that whatever the category falls under the FA, those are all the forecast values. In the SNP, it's going to store as a forecast. This is SAP recommend standard things. Okay, here we're not going to get anything. We're just here just using the SNP SAP recommended SAP recommend key figures, SAP recommended planning area. All we are going to use that SAP recommended only. Okay. If you see here, this all are has the categories. For sales orders, we have the category as BM. Sales orders, we have category as a BM. Okay. If the name if the BM, EL, BV, the name is given as key figures, it's meaningless. Due to that reason, the name will be given as a for BM as sales orders, for FA as a forecast. Like that, the naming convention is given by SAP in standard way. With that, we can understand that okay, this is a forecast value, this is the sales order. Like that, we can going to understand. Okay, and whatever data, for example, if I give either here 100, okay. See, whatever data I'm going to whatever data is available in the SNP is going to store as an order base. It's going to represent as order base. In APO, it will not show anything. If any value is there in the DP in the entire planning area, it will not display anything. Sorry, where is the planning area? Yeah, whatever the thing is there is going to show in the order level. Let me show you order number, then you get clarity. Okay. If you click on it, okay. Something is there. Okay. See, if you see here, but if in the DP, if you click anything here, we're not getting anything. But in the SNP, whatever the thing you are going to say here, you're getting the order number. Here we didn't get the order number, but normally you get the order number, and let me show you. Then you get. See here, order number is there. And what is this? What is the things? It is a purchase requisition. Purchase this is the order number, which tends to whatever data in the SNP is going to do, which is going to save as order. Going to save as order. See here, order number get different. It's varied. Whatever thing is going to save as order. Order is there, and this is the description. This is the purchase requisition, and this is the source. This is the destination. From this DC center, from this this is from the DC center. This is a product. We're making the purchase requisition. Like that, we get the details. Okay. Whatever that means, whatever thing in the SNP is going to do is going to in standard way only. Here we're not going to do any manual changes. Here using standard basis. Okay. Simply you can say it as a in the SNP, whatever the data is available is going to show as order based. In DP is going to show as time time series based. Okay. And let me give some points, noted points. In SNP, standard MPOS, SNP MPOS is 9A SNP boss planning area. 9A SNP 02 this standard planning area. SNP storage bucket 9A storage bucket profile. I'm going to use as 9A SNP planning book. 9A SNP 94. Okay, these are all the standard SNP planning area MPOS storage bucket profile planning book. Okay, just go to the planning book. For the planning book, we have SAP APO slash STP. Maybe this is the T code for the. Just go to the standard SNP planning 9A SNP 94. If you see here, you see in the interactive, okay, these are all key figures we have. There are key figures. The key figures we have this all these things. Okay, sales orders, distribution like all this we have. Characteristics, standard characteristics, master data, product location, PM, PDS, resource, transportation line. Like the key figure attributes is mainly is for to change the name of the key figure and to create the access the key to create the other key figures the same as the DP. And data views. In the data views we are going to use here we have standard data views as a SNP 94 is for SNP plan. Like that we have another data view also capacity plan. Okay, we have two standard data views. One is for the one is for SNP plan and another one is capacity plan. For SNP plan we have only one table. Let me show you that tables. See, if you see, click on the SNP plan data view, we have only one table. If you click on the SNP 94, we have two tables. These two tables, why? Because this data view is for the capacity leveling, for capacity planning. To if you are doing the capacity planning, we want to know the capacity, the quantity of the capacity. Then only we can make the changes to the capacity runtimes. Okay, due to that we have two tables. This has to set up is done in the creation at the time of creation of planning book. If you see here, for assembly planning, we have directly creating we are inserting the assembly plan only. If you select the capacity data view, we have to enable the table to and then we name it as a quantity view. Okay, this is the way. And key figures. These are the key figures we can for the database for that for this particular database. What are the key figures like that we have to see in there? See, here we have additional key figures. This key figure is for the second table. Okay. For example, data if I'm going to select only SNP1. The SNP plan we don't have an option get additional key figure. We have only one standard key figure like that. If I select the data view as a capacity plan, yeah, we get the option as additional key figure. I select the capacity data view, I get the option additional key figure additionally, which means that these key figures, this normal key figure is for the table one capacity plan table key figures, and this additional key figures is for this quantity view key figures. Okay, these are all the standard. These are all the standard which is SAP recommended. Okay, this is about the configuration part of the SNP, and these are all the standard standard MPOS, standard planning area, standard storage bucket for standard planning book. And we have let me go to change data view. If you click on the data view, see, this is the standard data view also, 9 SNP data view. If you just go into the data view, let's check //sap API /tr30 9 SNP. Sorry. If you see the standard time bucket profile also, 10 weeks, 10 periods as a weeks. For first 3 weeks, displays in days. If you just go to the entire demand current screen also, if you see here, first 3 weeks as a day wise, and remaining 7 as weeks. Okay. This is about the SNP overview and the basics of the configuration from the SNP. The main difference between DP in the configuration part, the main difference between DP and SNP is in the DP, storage bucket profile you are going to create, time bucket profile you are going to create, planning area you are going to create, MPAS we are going to create, planning book we are going to create. But in SNP, we are not going to create anything. Here we are using the standard. We can create the SNP planning. We can create the SNP planning area. But that SNP planning area also creation is we have to copy from the standard one only. If you want to do any changes, if you want to add some additional key figures, if you want to do any additional things, for that purpose we are going to create our SNP new planning area. But to create an SNP new planning area, we have to consider the standard key. We have to copy it from the first of all. We have to copy it from the standard key SNP standard SNP planning area. After that, we had to do the changes. We had to add the changes. Okay. For and storage bucket profile also we can create, but normally we are in the projects we are going to use the standard one only. This is about from my end for today. In the coming classes, I'm going to cover the configuration part of the SNP. But whatever I discussed in this class, it is about the overview of the configuration. That means I showed the difference between the DP and SNP. DP you can create anything in the manual, but in the SNP you are going to use the standard SAP suggested only. This is only I'm going to my intention is to show the difference between the API DP configuration and SNP configuration. In the coming classes, I am going to cover about the engines deployment at TLB. This is from my end for today. Thank you.